okay. Okay, and we go green here for race 1. You can see drivers, contact at turn 1 there. It looks like it was James Peters Ennis. Not sure what's happening there. He gets back on circuit. A few cars getting through. More contact, in fact, at turn 1 is with Joe Walsh, who looks down the inside of Charlie Flux at turn 2 as they head down the hill. Looks like he's got that move done very cleanly, very quickly. 1 position ahead as well. We can see, I think that's Richard Harwood under attack in the Diablo Racing styled car from the Marlboro car. However, at the current moment in time, it looks like the drivers are starting to move about a little bit as Gareth Newton is under attack, in fact, by Keith Dalton. He goes to the inside to defend. Maybe cut the ability to cut back on him off. However, it looks like maybe Dalton has got the overspeed, so Newton will grab the inside upper coppice. Does he hold the position? Or the inside has been left open for Dalton. He grabs the inside. It is going to be a drag race down towards Roberts chicane. It looks like Dalton is just a little bit in front. Yeah, very much so. You can see he's in front. Maybe trying to defend the inside. Maybe trying to give a bit of a squeeze as well. As on the brakes, over the first sausage curb, over the second. It looked like Newton got the faster line through there, but Dalton stays ahead at the end of lap 1. So Jason Knight, Hudson Knight now, JP Zenith. You can see the cars running around up ahead, as I think further up we see a move again in that Newton versus Dalton fight. So here's Shane Cooper currently chasing down Max Walsh, so too is Dandridge on Shane Cooper as well. A few cars further back, I think we saw just in the background there the move, Joe Walsh. Oh, it's a 3-car little pack here of Walsh, Harwood and Flux. Walsh out in head in that 356 car. We'll see, because he might lose the inside here through McLean's. At least Flux is definitely going to lose the inside through McLean's, and that's a very, very clean move there. In fact, for Richard Harwood, took the opportunity very well up the inside of McLean. Now he's going to be chasing down the rear end of Walsh as he looks to the inside, very close between the two C1s. Charlie Flux is also looking to gain 6th position back off of Richard Harwood. See, they're running side by side. A little bit of contact there, maybe, as they run down towards the chicane. Down on the brakes. Who's going to get the better line? Flux gets the inside through the first part of the chicane, and he makes it. Walsh is very much taking the opportunity while they're battling to extend his gap as well. However, now Charlie Flux will have to defend towards Redgate, turn 1. We'll see. Does the inside get used? No, they stay nose to tail. No, in fact, actually, Harwood very much looks like the inside. They are absolutely bumper to bumper as Harwood gets himself side by side as they run down the hill. Now, who's going to have the bravery to keep the foot planted to the floor? It looks like Flux gets out ahead as Harwood tries to regain his line for the old hairpin. So that will be 6th position for Charlie Flux at the current moment in time. However, he might be under pressure sooner rather than later with that very nicely done Arable Racing livery there. Quite enjoyed that. So we cut to TV cam. You can just see how close some of these cars are. It is all about momentum, as that was, I think that was Shane Cooper running ahead there at the front of the pack. As you can see, the rear end of the grid meeting up as well. That's going to be a very interesting fight soon as well. Gareth Newton, Keith Dalton and Hudson Knight. You can see him in that very bright yellow car. He's maybe got a little bit of pressure coming up from behind, which is not going to be the best of things to see in his rear view mirror, especially seeming as any lapses in concentration can cost you momentum, which seems to be the absolute key to these cars. As we have 15 minutes just under left on the race clock. You can also see just how much the drivers are extending turn 1 by using the pit lane. As down the inside there on Dalton goes Hudson Knight in the background. We'll see who gets out ahead. Hudson Knight has gained 11th position. Very good move there up the inside for Hudson Knight. Now though, he's going to be under pressure, maybe down towards the old hairpin. You can see Dalton is very much on his rear bumper, and as I said earlier on, Gareth Newton's going to be very happy because the more they battle, the further away he can pull, which clearly is something very handy in these momentum-based cars. See, I think Hudson Knight is actually extending the gap just a little bit. 1.6 seconds, I think, between himself and Keith Dalton behind in the black Sim1C1 car. We'll have to see what happens, as I believe, by the look of it as well, Hudson Knight is actually taking time out of Gareth Newton as well, seeing as he's not in a battle anymore, which will be something that he would love to see. Gap there sits at about 8 tenths so far, I believe, as we see the sausage curbs used to their full potential through the Robert chicane as regular. I think further on the grid as well, in 3rd position, the battle for 3rd is currently undertaking its course. The gap there is about 8 tenths between the two cars, between, I think it's Shane Cooper and Thomas Dandridge, 2nd and 3rd respectively. That gap has been closing and extending through the previous few laps. It looks like, looking at the timing, Dandridge is faster through Sector 2, but Cooper regains the time through Sector 1 and Sector 3. As off the track goes Cooper. That's going to cost him momentum. Now Dandridge can maybe attempt to move, maybe not just yet. However, he will be very much set up maybe for a move down the Robert chicane. Very, very wide there. In fact, goes Shane Cooper. It looked like he got the outside tyres on the grass. Now they're side by side down towards Robert chicane. You can see, though, how much momentum matters in these cars. On the brakes. It's going to hug the inside to defend it. That's 2nd position maybe for Dandridge, who gets a bit of airtime, actually, over the 2nd part of the chicane. So now he's going to have to defend. I think they are just about side by side as well by the look of it. Yep, to the inside goes Dandridge. Could open himself up to be switched back on. Maybe down towards old hairpin, which, yep, indeed he has. So they'll be side by side out of turn 2 down towards the old hairpin. Let's see who comes out on top. We saw earlier 2 cars going wide. The outside car pulled in a bit to gain the line, but nope, up the inside there goes Shane Cooper to retake 2nd position, but maybe a move could be back on for Thomas Dandridge up towards McLean's, possibly. They are side by side again. He will grab the inside, I think, through McLean's. Yeah, he does grab the inside, but Shane Cooper is still very much there, actually, on the outside of that Citroen C1, and this has allowed Owens and Walsh to catch up to this pack as well. As Walsh there on the inside in the other Diablo racing car jumps up the inside of Cooper as well. Joe Walsh will be looking very much up the inside, almost having to go off-roading in his Citroen C1. Dandridge grabs the outside into the chicane. Walsh drops back quite a bit. Cooper grabs in as, there's contact. Dandridge hits the wall and comes back on the circuit, but that pack further up is still going. Still going strong down towards turn 1. I think Owens grabbed second position in amongst all of that as well. As we see Walsh trying the outside line on Shane Cooper and getting 50 Shades of unsettled through turn 1. Maybe just threw the car in a bit too much. Cooper's on the outside at the minute. Owens is on the inside, which will switch around as they head towards the right-hander of Old Hairpinners. Or trying to cut back there, actually, was Jake Owens on Shane Cooper. And it looks like, actually, it's been successful. It has been successful. Very good use of cutbacks we've seen so far in these cars. As now Walsh is going to have a go, maybe through McLean's. We'll have to see. Doesn't quite get the move done through McLean's. However, he will have this chance now up at Coppice. Or maybe even just a chance to grab the exit. As off the track goes Owens. Tries to keep it on, but it's going to lose so much momentum there. Drops down, I think, to 5th position. Doesn't quite lose out to Jason Knight. No, I was wrong. He has lost out to Jason Knight. In fact, Shane Cooper now back up to 2nd place, further up the field as well. Max Walsh will, just as you can see him there, just at the bottom of the camera, will be absolutely loving life at the minute, just pulling away. And we'll have to see, is Cooper going to defend to the inside at turn 1? No, he takes his regular line. Hard on the brakes to get himself around that corner. Here is your race leader, Max Walsh, absolutely pulling away from the field as they're battling, which is probably in his mind the perfect situation that he could be in. As we cut back to this battle, they're still very, very close. Under a 10th separates Cooper from Flux. About a 1,000th separating Cooper from Walsh as well, so he's going to be very much under pressure by that 356 Logitech sponsored machine, who will try and grab the inside maybe at McLean's. Hard on the brakes. Oh, he makes the move. Flux as well actually looks to capitalise on the move as well. Doesn't quite go up the gap that was made on the inside for him though. Now Flux will have the job of getting past Shane Cooper. Walsh now switches from attack to defend to grab maybe 2nd spot on the podium. As round into the Robert chicane we go once more. Very, very close between the drivers. See who comes out on top at turn 1. Flux may be looking to the inside, but thinks better of it at the minute. You can see different drivers use a different amount of the pit lane. I think Joe Walsh was looking to stick himself in the middle of the pit lane and the track in case he had to defend a late move, which thankfully he didn't. But we'll run down to the Old Hairpin and see how we go. Maybe a look up the inside there from Shane Cooper, but he pulled out of it in a minute. And the cars behind, I think we've got all the way up to 7th place in this little pack, as Charlie Flux is now going to the inside, maybe on a bit of defense. Oh, Flux loses the positions out to Owen. Or was it? I think it might actually be Jason Knight. Looking at it, but now Shane Cooper will be under attack by Jason Knight. Charlie Flux will be under attack from Jake Owens, who had that contact earlier on in the race and has started to climb back up towards where he was, but they're still very close together. To the inside there looks to be Jason Knight to defend the inside from Charlie Flux. As different drivers also take different amounts of the sausage curb through the 1st and 2nd part. We've seen it this race where people have taken too much of the second sausage curb and have just dipped a wheel on the gravels. I think that's Peters Ennis in the pit lane as well. Not quite sure what happened to him, but he has pitted in. So we are still with this pack. 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes just over left of today's race. Second place still, well, the entire podium really still up in the air for a couple of these drivers. As you can see further back, Flux is attacking Jason Knight. And Flux goes, Knight goes very deep outside of Old Hairpin. Manages to keep the position and keep the car pointing in the right direction. However, Shane Cooper now will be looking up the inside of Joe Walsh. McLean's Walsh very late on the brakes. Who's going to get out in front? It looks like Joe Walsh holds the position for now. And maybe a move into Coppice. Cooper will get moved onto the inside line by Jason Knight, who maybe took a bit too much into Coppice there, because he's ended up on the grass and has lost out a whole heap of momentum. He'll also lose out quite a bit of time to Hudson Knight further back as well. But here we are, Charlie Flux under attack from Jay Collins while he's attacking Shane Cooper as well. He's got to do the double duty of attacking and defending, something very hard to do in sim racing. He's got to focus both on where you can gain time on the car ahead and where you can try and pull away from the car behind us. Up the inside there goes Jay Collins. Is he going to hold the position though as they head down towards the Old Hairpin? It looks like it. Now Charlie Flux will be under attack from Richard Harwood in the Marlboro-inspired car on the outside, who'll get the inside through Old Hairpin as well. So maybe 2 positions here in the first sector for Charlie Flux. They are side by side. Oh, Flux goes out onto the grass a little bit, and Richard Harwood does move up into the lead, into the middle of this train. As I think that's Peters Ennis off the circuit, yielding to blue flags. As well as we can just see a little bit further up, Cooper is under assault on Joe Walsh once more. He makes a move at Coppice. Very good move there that we just saw, as Jake Owens is halfway round. In fact, not sure if maybe he got contact or maybe he hit the curb a bit too hard. But now Charlie Flux will be on the attack of Joe Walsh down towards the Robert chicane. Shane Cooper has regained second position of the race, and Richard Harwood has in fact jumped up to third position at the moment as well. But Charlie Flux looking very hungry on the rear of that Marlboro-inspired Citroen C1 for the final step of the podium, with 1 minute and 30 seconds thereabouts left in today's race. I think it will be the last lap. We might get one more after. It does all depend on Max Walsh, where he positions himself when he gets over the line. As side by side we have Charlie Flux and Richard Harwood as we run down towards the Old Hairpin once more. Can see a few battles happening actually, as up the inside there goes Charlie Flux. Gets a little bit of a tap on the rear end by Richard Harwood as well. That's going to be great for him. It will mean more momentum at the cost of Richard Harwood's momentum, as just out of shot as well, Joe Walsh grabbed the position off of Richard Harwood too. So very good vision there by Joe Walsh to grab the position and the opportunity when it happened. So we are with Jason Knight, who's currently in P7, 1.5 seconds off of Hudson Knight, ahead in that other red and black Diablo car. And Peters Ennis will be maybe moving over down towards turn 1 for the blue flags. The next time by will be the final lap of today's race as well, which has been absolutely jam-packed with action, and for Max Walsh out ahead as well, this is going to mean that he will be doing a last to first in the reverse grid race. He's absolutely run away with race 1 today, and race 2 he'll be starting from the rear as it's reverse grid, so he'll have a lot more work to do to take the double in today's race, as Joe Walsh is under attack from Richard Harwood. It might be the case of just full defend now to capitalise on that 4th position and not drop down to 5th. But we will have to see, as there's a car off in the grass there. I think that was Thomas Dandridge that was off there. As under attack now into the coppice is Joe Walsh. Is he going to lose out 4th position on the final lap? He looks to cut back to the inside for the Starsky Straight, which he does get the inside. This is going to be a last chicane shootout for 4th position. It looks like Harwood has got the extra speed. However, is Walsh going to make a last-ditch attempt down the inside at the Robert chicane? He does, but Harwood cuts the attack off there to solidify 4th position for himself. Very good bit of defensive driving by Richard Harwood on the final lap to take 4th position, as we see the cars come across the line. Knight and Cooper 5th and 6th, Newton into 7th. As we head into the gravel at the first corner. So, your race order after race 1. Max Walsh came to take first. My live timing has had a bit of a there we go. Max Walsh comes through to take first place, followed by Charlie Flux. 3rd was Richard Harwood. Was it? I think that's... Oh, okay. 4th was Joe Walsh. 5th was Hudson Knight. 6th was Shane Cooper. 7th was Newton. 8th was Owens. 9th was Jason Knight, I think that is. And 10th was Peters Ennis. According to the live timing, Thomas Standridge and Matt Harris did not make it to the end of the race. As I think that's Knight being pushed across the line there, as maybe he ran out of fuel on the final lap, as there's a very bouncy C1 in the pit lane. So we'll have a little bit of a cool down time for the end of race 1 towards the start of race 2, where the grid will be reversed. So this will mean a very tall order for Max Walsh, as he'll be starting, I think, in P10 due to the 2 cars retiring, I believe. But it's still quite a tall order. There's very momentum-based cars, as we saw throughout the entirety of that race. We saw that if you got on the sand, or if you were battling the cars ahead or the cars behind, could either extend the gap by a huge margin or close the gap by a huge margin as well. The battle for P2, for example, in the first race, started by just 2 cars battling, and it let the rest of that pack grab up the track to join in to the battle as well. As we are just getting ready for the cooldown timer to end for us to go onto the grid once more for race 2 of the night, the final race of the Sim1C1 Season 1. It's interesting as well, looking at the top speed stats In fact, most of the cars hitting around 90 mile an hour, which would have been, I think, down the Starsky straight as well, which shows that you can't gain a huge amount on top speed. The car's top speed for all the drivers was very close together to about 1 mile an hour, more or less. Which means that more or less everything that you gain, all the time that was gained, and most of the moves were made into the corners where you can just carry that momentum all the way through, force a defensive maneuver, maybe to lose the car ahead, that momentum, and then grab up the overspeed towards the next corner or towards the Robert chicane, as we saw quite a lot down the Startsy straight towards the chicane. There we go. We jump back onto the grid. So your grid order is reversed for the second race, which is going to mean, I think, Jamie Peters-Ennis lines up on pole position in the purple and white and rainbow styled Citroen C1 there on the right hand side of your screen. So yeah, Ennis lines up in second place, then Andrews lines up on pole position. I'm not sure where you'd rather be, in fact, at turn 1, to get the overspeed maybe downhill or to defend the inside, as the lights go on for the second and final time this evening. And we go green for the second reverse grid race here at Donington, as it looks like a very, very good start from Knight, who immediately goes to cover off the inside. Peters-Ennis looks to also go to the inside as well. A few cars looking to the outside. Is Knight going to hold the position at turn 1? That's the question. It's actually Dandridge at P1. My apologies there, as we see the cars getting through turn 1 all pretty cleanly, actually. Pretty nice. Looks like a few positions maybe were gained and lost, but there's still 20 minutes of racing to go, as Dandridge looks to still be under pressure, as we have a few cars getting loose at the outside of Old Hairpin, as now Peters-Ennis looks to grab the outside through McLean's, grabs the inside actually through the Schwartz curves. Very good move there. However, he hits the sand on the outside of McLean's. That might cost him that all-important momentum. Maybe down towards Coppice. It'll be a case of who gets the better exit. Is it going to be Dandridge or is it going to be Ennis? We'll have to see, as now down we go to Starsky straight. Ennis defends to the inside and gives a little bit of an outside squeeze as well for good measure, but it looks like he'll grab the inside through the Robert chicane as the fronts of the cars dip very drastically on the brakes. Now I have to see. Peters-Ennis leads out of lap 1, followed by Dandridge, Jason Knight and Jake Owens in this 4-car pack, as Peters-Ennis grabs the inside to defend that. At turn 1, however, it looks like he's sacrificed a little bit of momentum as they head down the hill. They will be a bit side by side. This is going to be close. If Dandridge can hold the car there, though, he will get the inside through Old Hairpin, which it looks like he's grabbing. Who's going to get out ahead? Or as he gets a little bit of a tap up the rear by Jason Knight, manages to recover the car, but that would have lost Jason Knight a whole heap of momentum as well out of Old Hairpin, which might open him up to Jake Owens behind in the other Diablo Racing style car. See just how much curb some of the drivers are grabbing as opposed to the other. I'm not sure if the lines might be down to personal preference, or if it might just be a case of drive a bit more conservatively to not grab the sand and just keep as much of that momentum as you possibly can as Peters Ennis goes to defend the inside. Down the Startsy straight, it is going to be side by side between Jason Knight and Peters Ennis. However, in the background as well, you can see there Jake Owens is piling the pressure on Jason Knight as well. As we run down to T1 now, Peters Ennis had a little bit of a momentum loss, a little bit of risk to first place by defending the inside. This time he doesn't have to, he can take his regular line. As, it does look like he goes quite deep off of turn 1. I'm having a look at that gap, and it looks like he hasn't lost a huge deal of time because of it. However, Jake Owens will be very much looking for the attack positions on Jason Knight. I thought maybe a move could have been on through the old hairpin, but that does not seem to be the case. It looks like Knight is actually extending the gap out to Owens. In fact, as they head towards McLean's, I am monitoring the gap. Bit more curb on the exit there for Owens as well. That might aid to the speed towards Coppice. Just looking at the gaps, it very much does look like that is the case. He will get to sit in the slipstream on the back of Jason Knight as well. Maybe, trying to look at the gap, maybe could make the move into Roberts' chicane. It doesn't look like he's going to for this lap though, as you see just how much curb the driver's take in these cars, which may be a bit risky, especially due to the amount of body roll we have seen from the C1s, but you want to grab every tenth that you possibly can. Into turn 1, they're still very much running nose to tail. In fact, pretty much bumper to bumper, almost pushing each other around the circuit, really. That is how close the gap is. As they run down towards Old Hairpin once more. Someone who has managed to capitalise off of this battle is Joe Walsh. He's now around 8 tenths behind Jake Owens. And Max Walsh as well is making his moves up the grid in the background. There you can see too, in that blue and green color. He's made it up from, I think, 10th or 11th to 5th place at the current moment in time, and he will be joining this battle very soon, I feel. As both Walsh and Knight go very deep off of McLean's. It doesn't look like they've lost out a whole heap of time, which is lucky, as we did see some drivers lose out more than others on the exit of McLean's by hitting that sand. Either by having to slow the car down to keep it in a straight line, or by having to lay off to find a safe moment to rejoin the circuit. It looks like that gap between Peters Ennis and Jason Knight has closed up drastically over the last lap as well, so Peters Ennis may start to feel some pressure from Jason Knight in the next couple of laps. Jake Owens might actually be sitting behind and trying to grab every opportunity he can to capitalise on the first and second place drivers battling, which would be a very smart move. We saw in race 1 how much time there was to gain by being in clean air while the cars ahead or behind were battling, and I think that is something that the drivers will be very quietly aware of in the back of their minds when they're planning maybe where they could make a move, trying to gauge where they're faster or where they need to push more. As Peters Ennis looks to make a move to defend the inside at Coppice just in case he needs it. However, it doesn't look like he needs to defend the inside at Coppice, but he might need to now towards the Roberts chicane. As side by side is Peters Ennis and Jason Knight. I think Peters Ennis will get out ahead though, having the inside line into the Robert chicane, but we had seen a move from the outside possible in race 1, it sounds like. However, Jason Knight hits the gravel on the inside of the second part of the chicane, which is very much going to open the door to Jake Owens. This is what I was talking about at the start of the last lap. So I believe Jake Owens has made that move into second place. But now he'll be very much under pressure down towards the old hairpin by Jason Knight. And this gap between the top 4 has started to close up quite drastically over the past couple of laps. Peters Ennis may be starting to feel a bit more pressure on himself, as still really nose to tail, as they have been for a lot of this race, is Jake Owens and Jason Knight. Knight might try to grab the inside here at McLean's, but it doesn't look like it at the minute, trying to just maximize that momentum. It looks like actually he got a lot more speed on the exit there, which may set him up for a good line into Coppice just there. Now maybe a good line, in fact, down towards the Roberts chicane. We'll have to see. We'll have to monitor that gap a little bit, as very much nose to tail. Is Knight going to make a late move down the inside at the Roberts chicane? No, he stays ahead for now. Maybe just didn't have that much extra speed on Jake Owens, or maybe just thought he'll bide his time. I think I see what he might do. He might force Owens to defend the inside a bit more, as very much into the pit exit to just try and widen that corner out as much as possible and just gain the extra speed. Owens stays ahead for now. However, I think he will be back under attack very, very quickly, which, yes, I was right, as they head towards the old hairpin. Braves just watching. It looks like Owens hits a lot more of that inside curb lap after lap, which might be giving him a little bit extra speed, but it doesn't look like it's too drastic if that is the case. See, towards Coppice. Is there going to be a move made? Not quite yet. Max Walsh just behind as well is starting to put pressure on Joe Walsh. He looks actually to the inside at Coppice. The 2 blue cars behind it. Looks like Max Walsh gets ahead at Coppice. Very good move there from Max Walsh to make the move up to 4th place. Now he's got a little bit of a gap to claw back now between Jason Knight and himself, which could be possible, especially seeming as he will be under pressure from Joe Walsh for the next lap or 2 as well. Any mistake could be very costly for Max Walsh, the winner of race 1. Just trying to watch how much pit lane exit is taken by the top 3. They're taking their regular lines, in fact, and it looks like Owens was just a bit faster through turn 1 than Jason Knight, in fact. The timing sort of says that, as well, as he has lost out about a 10th, in fact, and has slightly backed up into Max Walsh behind as well in that dark blue and green coloured car we saw just exit the screen there. To see, as they are running nose to tail, is Max Walsh and Joe Walsh, maybe trying to speed each other forward. In fact, grab the draft where possible, and then overtake and do it again down the straight. As well, that looked a bit sideways there by Max Walsh, which, yeah, it looks like actually the inside has opened up for Joe Walsh down towards the Robert chicane. Not sure who's going to get ahead there. Joe slips back to the inside. Go down the brakes. It looks like Max Walsh is going to stay ahead for now. Is onto the grass a bit at the exit. We are looking very, very close though between really the top six. In fact, Thomas Dandridge could definitely capitalise on the battles occurring ahead of him as well, as Max Walsh has very much closed that gap up between himself and Jason Knight. We'll have to see. Peter Ennis has very much started to craft a little bit of a gap between himself and Owens. As well, something that I'm sure seeing Max Walsh carve his way up the field behind, he'll want to extend that gap as much as possible. As now we may see a move down the inside at Coppice as once more nose to tail is Jake Owens and Jason Knight. Oh, Owens gets very loose on the exit of McLean's. That will open up Jason Knight to make the move. However, he might be under pressure through Coppice. No, because Owens has to defend the inside from Max Walsh, who is looking very hungry for that move. However, he will be left to drive around the outside at the Robert chicane when they get to it. Possibly, I'm not sure. Oh, he very much was. Jake Owens stays ahead for now. He got the inside line into the Roberts chicane. However, Max Walsh could force a defensive move to the inside, which we've seen. The cutback is absolutely one of the keys to overtaking. There's very good defending on the apex there by Jake Owens to deny the move into third place for Max Walsh. Now that's opened up Joe Walsh behind as well. As we see this train, Thomas Dandridge is slowly catching up to the rear of this train as they are battling. Now hard on the brakes, a bit of contact between Joe and Max Walsh. Maybe a bit of extra speed there for Max Walsh by getting that light tap on the rear end. Dandridge also looking on the rear end of Joe Walsh as well to the inside at McLean, sorry. However, the inside line is very much closed off because Joe Walsh uses it to grab fourth place off of Max Walsh. Dandridge may be trying the inside on Max Walsh as well. Doesn't quite make the move come to fruition, however. He will have another chance into the Robert chicane, maybe. Looking at it, they both hit around the same speed down towards the Robert chicane, so it might be a case of a late move. However, he stays behind for now. It's over the curbs at the Roberts chicane, the final corner. Now is Dandridge going to have a look down the inside? No, he decides to slip into his regular line, which could be a very good idea actually. We've seen that it is possible to make the move up the inside, but you have to defend from the cutback as much as possible. As we head down the hill towards the old hairpin once more. Now Owens under pressure from Joe Walsh. Up ahead as well. Max Walsh has dropped back just a little bit. In fact, but now we'll see the inside is being defended there by Jake Owens very nicely. Maybe the move could be on as late up the inside. There was a try from Joe Walsh. Doesn't make the move come to fruition though, as see just further back as well. Max Walsh will be under pressure by Dandridge, who stays behind through Coppice for now. Maybe to try and grab the overspeed down towards the Robert chicane. There's a bit of grass there for Max Walsh on the exit. Not sure if that's done his speed any detriment. It looks like it just a little bit, as it looks like Dandridge will claim the inside at the Robert chicane as they are side by side. Who will come out on top? Walsh manages to come out on top with a good bit of defending from the inside of, the outside of the Robert chicane, grabbing the inside through the second part of the chicane to hold his position. As I believe, once more looking at the track map, this will be either the last or second to last lap of the race. It all depends. Peters Ennis is very much trying to carve his gap. I think the battling that's happened behind him has helped by slowing the cars down behind and allowing him to keep going at full clean air speed. As Max Walsh, maybe now it's a bit too late to close up to Joe Walsh ahead. However, you never know in motorsport. You never know what's going to happen and who's going to end up where. There's a good bit of defensive driving on the inside by Jake Owens to try and hold that third position, but it has opened him up at the outside, but he cuts to the inside. In fact, down the Starsky Straight. Now, who is going to get out on top? We have seen Max Walsh make this move work before. However, it looks like it's going to be Owens who will make that move stick this time around. We'll have to see, because it looks like Owens is going to be moved to the inside at turn 1. Very late on the brakes, opens up the inside there for Joe Walsh. Very good move there from Joe Walsh to take third position on the final lap. We'll have to see though, because the race is far from over. See, maybe a move into the old hairpin. It looked on, however, I think Walsh just had enough speed to hold that position up. But now he'll be very much under pressure, as here is a battle for the lead unfolding on the final lap. Knight was on the outside, maybe trying to get the cutback on Peters Ennis as he looks to the inside at Coppice. Who is going to come out on top? Oh, Peters Ennis holds the lead for now, but it will be for the win of the second race. It looks a one chicane shootout. Peters Ennis looks to claim the inside at the chicane for the final time. He does claim the inside. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. I think, though, Peters Ennis will come through to take the victory in the second race, which he does. Knight comes through in second. Third place goes to Owen. Fourth is Walsh. Fifth was Flux. Sixth was Dandridge. Seventh was Walsh. Eighth was Harwood. Ninth was Cooper. 10th was Hudson Knight. 11th was Gareth Newton. And 12th will be Matt Harris. Well, that was a very, very tense second race there as well. Max Walsh very much had his work cut out for him. Came through to take fourth position, I believe, which I think, looking at the championship, we'll see him take the title as well at the final race. But that was a very good couple of races there in the Citroen C1s. They were very close, nose to tail around the entire race, in fact. Many moves, many good defensive moves and very good attacking moves. As I believe that is the end of the race meet and the end of the season for the Sim1C1 Championship. Okay, so that is the end of the final round at Donington for the Citroen Sim1 C1 Championship Season 1. Thank you very much for joining me for this race. Until next time, have a good day.